Episode 15. Let's rock and roll. I got dinner in the other room, and I'll be honest, I'm here to do a hell of a job, but we're working with quick efficiency tonight. Episode 15. Mitch's favorite segment because he believes it's the realest segment of the week. I think they're all real, but hey,
I think they're all real.
you're right. But you do think this one's the realest.
100%.
All right. So that segment is the quarterback that's in the toughest situation. And as with many weeks in college football, there are definitely many that could be on this list. But today, I think it's going to provide a different perspective than, DJ in week one or Riley Leonard, who responded extremely well, by the way.
Hell yeah. I did
this
not want
past
to leave
week.
this episode without talking about that.
Yeah, dope. So we can definitely touch that. But week 3 is Tyler Van Dyke. So I'm going to run the situation out, and then I want Mitch to kind of give us his thoughts. But you look at Tyler Van Dyke, started his career at Miami. Okay, he went down to Miami, and in 2021, so we're in 2024, so 3 years ago, he was the ACC Rookie of the Year, right? So obviously put on. And now it's like, just so you guys know, I was a Mountain West Conference Freshman Player of the Year when I was a freshman, and it's like, what that does is it just creates now like an expectation. Not only the fans' expectation of you, but your expectation of yourself. Like, that's what I always say is like after accomplishing that my freshman year is like, dude, just a good season is not going to be good enough anytime moving forward now. Like, now you want to compete for conference championships and you want to play at a really, really high level. And that's kind of the expectation that's set once you do that. So that is the expectation, right? Down at Miami. That's the thought. And again, for Tyler, that's his thought now is like that's how I'm going to perform. Then Cristobal comes in. Okay. And with Cristobal has been very adamant that his first 2 years, the offensive coordinator situation and the synergy on that side of the ball was just not there. And he had apologized for it a ton. And he felt that this year was the first year, and he said it before the season, like, we have alignment now on that side of the ball. Well, what's really tough is tell that to Tyler Van Dyke, dude, who had to sit there during those 2 years. And then because the shine wore off, now you bring Cam Ward in. Now you go to Wisconsin. You find yourself at Wisconsin, and good for him, dude, as a senior, starts the season 2-0. He's playing really well, and he's got Alabama coming up to Wisconsin, where Madison is a hell of a place to play. So that's a tough spot for Alabama to be in theory. And on the first drive of the game, you get hit going out of bounds. I don't know if this is the injury, but I had it myself, and he was in crutches and no weight, and he had a brace around his knee, like, all indications there would be ACL, which would put you out for your senior year. So, Mitch, you have a guy who has lived many lives, been through all that, now got the train rolling, and now has to sit there in what could be his senior year being over. Just take us into the layers of what all is being processed there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of layers to it. I think the first layer, this one kind of hits home to me because something I'm going through right now is, he spends so much time at Miami, leaves Miami, and they weren't incredibly successful offensively when he was there. Leaves Miami, and now they're having, a ton of success, putting up like 50 points a game. And when you're at a place like that, right, and you don't have the success, and then the success comes after you, it's a hard pill to swallow. Because part of you doesn't want them to have that success. You don't want them to have success without you. And that's something that I'm going through right now. We did not have a ton of success at Wake Forest offensively in my last year. And this year, so far, they've had a lot of success offensively. And, they struggled this week versus Ole Miss. And Ole Miss they got some dudes, so it is what it is. But they put up a lot of points offensively and have had a good year. And in no way am I rooting against my friends and my old teammates. Hell no, dude. I watched every single game with a smile on my face, watching my best friends ball out. But a part of me, it is hard. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that it's easy to see a place where I loved and a place that I worked so hard to have success that I did not have when I left. It's hard. And So I know that he's probably going through something like that too. And I'm doing it, and I'm not even playing right now. He's playing, so he's got to deal with
Right.
a whole. He's probably not even thinking about it really because he's playing. It's easier for me to think about it because I'm not.
Totally.
But that might be in the back of his mind, and then he's dealing with being the starting quarterback at Wisconsin, and trying to revamp his career in a way, and has had a lot of success to start. They're 2-0, and a huge first test. Bama's coming to town. You want to play a good game, and to have everything you work for, and go through all the things that he's been through to kind of if this is the injury and tearing his ACL, if that is the case, it's just a tough situation to be in when you've worked so hard to kind of get back and put so much into it. And, with eligibility nowadays, he'll probably get another year with a medical red shirt and whatnot. But it doesn't make it any easier because then you got to watch this whole year from the sideline and kind of realize that everything you wanted is now a plus, whatever it was, plus a year. And it's definitely a tough situation. I know you've been through it, an ACL tear, and how that is mentally. You kind of were towards the end of the season, but it still puts a lot of limits on you. So kind of talk about what that's like when you get that news, if that is the case. We don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, but it's a very similar situation because both he and I had been through a lot of shit.
Of course.
And then we get to our senior years, and it's like you understand, you're humble enough to understand that like nothing goes the way you think it is going to go in college football. But you also you have high aspirations for what this looks like. Tyler Van Dyke is an NFL style quarterback, in terms of he fits the measurables and all of that. And he's going to be smart. He's been in a lot of college football. So in a lot of ways, it's have a pretty good season and play well up there. And you'll be on an NFL roster next year.
For sure.
You will be. And so you go into the season and he's not thinking about the NFL, but right now being injured, I promise you he is.
Oh, 100%.
He's now thinking to himself, fuck, what does recovery look like now?
Yeah.
And
do I leave? Do I come back? Yeah.
Suffering. I mean, but he's a senior, so it's you'd have to get the year back. In order to come back.
Yeah.
And I think something that people don't talk about is how fatigued you get by the end of your college football career. It's I mentioned it in my episode to start this whole thing off, but tore my ACL in week 6 against Georgia and was throwing for 300 yards a game in the SEC. And because of everything that I was carrying at that time, I felt relieved.
Yep.
Mitch talked about his injury and feeling relieved. And I'm not saying that in any way that Tyler is relieved. What I'm saying is that that's the weight you're carrying. And now to face the injury like this, you're dealing with the immediacy of the now of understanding well, this whole season just changed for me. Then you're looking at the NFL and, well, that looks a whole lot different now. And your recovery and how you choose to approach that, if like Mitch said, maybe you can get a medical year or something like that. You're just having to think about a lot of things that aren't going out there and kicking somebody's ass on Saturday.
Yeah.
And you have to do that in your room, dude. And you're stuck with you and your thoughts. And so like Mitch had kind of mentioned there too, it's where do those thoughts go? Dude, those thoughts go all the way back to Miami. Those thoughts go all the way back to a feeling of an inevitability where you just go really? Another fucking thing, another thing. And so it just takes the wind out of your sails bad.
Yeah.
Bad. And Mitch, you talked about it in your episode as well, but talk a little bit about just showing up to practice next week.
Yeah.
Being on crutches, sitting there as a fifth year guy who had a lot going for him and all of that, take him into what that feels like a little bit.
Yeah. And maybe as unhealthy as this is, in a way it is our identity and being the leader and being the quarterback. That's who we are. And when you get hurt like that, you got to watch another guy run your offense. You got to watch another guy be the leader of your team. And that was the hardest part for me when there were times that, like, when I got benched, of course I wanted to play. And it sucked that I wasn't playing. But, dude, watching another guy lead my team and like talk to my receivers and hug my offensive line and communicate with them, bro, that tore me to shreds. I've said a lot of things are the hardest thing. That was the hardest thing. Watching another guy in my spot leading my guys who I love so much, that just ripped me apart. And he's got to do that. He's got to sit there and watch another guy lead his guys and play his part. And that's so hard. And you said he thinks back to Miami. Dude, those thoughts go back to high school. Should I have gone to Miami in the first place?
You're right.
You know, like it goes way beyond that. And it's just,
right.
He might even have been a baseball player. I think he might have even been a good baseball player if I'm not mistaken. And it's like, I've just played baseball. Right. And you don't mean any of these thoughts, but it's when you have time and you're in a shitty position with your knee in the air and you feel like crap, that's what you're going to think about. And another thing that we were just talking about, that a lot of guys, when they get to their last year of college, they love college football, but you're kind of ready for it to be over. And not in a sense you're not thankful for it, but you're ready to move on, because 5 years in college is a lot.
A lot. And
you're also with 18-year-olds and you're 23, 24, so you get to a point where you're kind of ready to be treated like a grown-up all the time. So you're kind of ready to move on, and not that you don't enjoy it. But I know there's a lot of guys I've talked to who have kind of been ready to move on to the next step.
Yeah.
And if he's going to come back, and if he's feeling like he's ready to move on, and you got to come back, bro, that's another 18 months. And that's a long time. That's a long time, you know? So it's just so many layers to just being out for the season and missing the game versus Alabama and being injured. The physical pain, dude, that's like 10% of it. It's going to be hurt like shit. Bro, it's 10% of it. There's just so much you got to think of. And like you said, all the things he's got to process. Like, do I come back? If I can I come back? Do I leave? What do I do? Bro, you kind of got to make these decisions quick. You know, it's like, how are we going to attack this rehab? Is it to get me back for a pro day? Or do I have a whole season? Like, what are we doing here?
Totally. And a lot of those questions require answers from people who are immersed in the season. So it's
100%.
You also you don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable going into James Franklin's office and asking him about like the implications of the NFL and whether I should do this or not, because it's like, dude, he's fucking focusing on beating Florida. You know what I mean? Like, so that's another, it's you feel like a fish out of water a little bit, like
100%.
And you're not in that leadership role. So something that I love about like the perspective that you and I both provide in these segments is like, it's not just all shit and doom and gloom. It's also like, what would you say to him, Mitch? Like, what would you do? What is the thing that gets you to be able to move forward in this situation? To you, what is that? How do you handle that?
Oh, such a great question. I think it's rooted in my faith, and it's rooted in the experiences that I've had. And as simple as it is, you have to trust in God's plan, and you have to trust that everything happens for a reason. Now that I've kind of gotten through the weeds a little bit, and I'm past everything I've gone through for now, the things that I've gone through up to this point, when you're in it, it makes no sense. Makes no sense. It's so hard. You're so confused on why it could happen to you and why you're going through everything. Now that I'm at where I'm at now, I would not change a single thing. And I'm so thankful for everything that I've gone through, because it's made me who I am today, and it's made me stronger as a person. So now I can sit here understanding that everything has happened for a reason, and I'm thankful for it. So now that I'm in this place, I can kind of tell my old self, telling Tyler Van Dyke, as much as this sucks and as shitty as this is, you have to keep faith and have to understand that everything has happened for a reason, and you'll be stronger because of it. It does not make sense, and it is not an easy thing to hear, because that's not a short-term fix.
No.
What that means is in 8 months now, you'll understand, but for the next 8 months, you're going to feel like shit. But you got to keep the faith, and I know you'll have something probably even cooler to say, so I'd love to hear what you'd have to say to him, because you've been through it. Because this hits home to you. You've been very similar journey, a similar injury, the same injury, and you had to make a decision on what's next. So what would you say to a guy like that who's been through it?
I thought you mentioned your faith is tested in this moment. Yeah. So I think your faith is extremely important, But because you did a very good job of just laying that out there, like mine is two roads. Victim or the hunter, you have to find something to attack it. You have to. Whatever that narrative is in your head that you have to create to stay in the role of hunter and working towards something,
Yeah.
that's the only option.
Yep.
Because the victimhood route is a dark snowball that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, you know, I like in psychology, like they say suppression is depression. It's like just like pretending like it's not there, or just kind of doom and gloom. Like it's only going to get worse. Right. So, you know, using my personal example was like, I tore it. Well, my grandfather had just passed away, so I was going to be there for my family. So that was like, okay, I have something to do right now this week where I have to go be there for my family. And then I got back and I was very lucky, grace of God and my grandpa. Like the doctor was like, dude, you might be able to play on this torn. Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I want to do it because I need something I need something to do right now, bro.
Yeah, I need this, dude.
Like, even if I fail your test and I can't play, like at least I was doing some shit for a couple weeks that made me feel like I was doing something, you know?
Yeah.
So in his head, like if that's the NFL, let's say he's not going to come back for his senior year.
Yeah.
It's okay, I need to strengthen my leg as much as possible, which people don't really understand. You have to do prehab before you get ACL surgery typically, like just to make sure that the quad's firing the way that it needs to and that you're prepared like to go into that. So that's how you turn the page. You don't forget about your team, but you turn the page. It's like, I want to go to the NFL. I'm not coming back next year. The only way that I'm going to do that is by being able to run a 40 at Pro Day and run a 40 at the Combine. And so that puts me on a timetable now where it's September 16th. If I want the opportunity to potentially do that in April, like I'm going to have to crush this prehab, crush this surgery, crush this rehab, and then I'll put myself in a position to actually do that. Well, that's shifted now your mind from Miami, should I have gone here? Should I have played baseball? Should I have done this? To I better wake my ass up tomorrow morning because I got double days in the rehab center, in the training room with those guys. And it's like, that's always the thing, right? When you're going through the most shit in your life, when you're struggling the most, like find something to put you in an upward trajectory. Like, even if it's miserable, like find something that is that proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. Like, okay, Tyler Van Dyke, like you were going to be in the season all season. Well, you weren't going to pop your head out of that until December or January. So you pop your head out of that, you have 2.5, 3 months to prepare for NFL Combine, NFL meeting rooms, NFL this.
Yeah.
It's September 16th. You're hurt now. So guess what? Your NFL process started yesterday in terms of your mental preparation.
100%.
So you can pivot because you're not being selfish with your college football team. Like you can't contribute.
Yeah.
So you're going to be there and support the guys and all of that. But again, on the mentality of like finding something to attach yourself to is now you have an opportunity. And I'm going on here, but like, I think it's I think it's super important, especially for all the guys listening who like, when you get injured, like, I think that what I say to you guys all the time is there's 3 components to this game. Like it's physical, it's mental, and it's spiritual. Like spirituality is your relationship with yourself, like knowing who you are, your strengths and weaknesses, all of those things. It's having a strong sense of self. Mental is the football game itself and understanding coverages and offensive concepts and all of those things, right? So when we talk like mental performance and anxiety and all of those things, that's more spiritual to me than it is mental. But
100%.
anyway, and then you have the physical side. Well, when my guys get injured or when you guys get injured out there, like it knocks out the physical component. Well, what's the one we focus the most on all off season? The physical component.
Yeah.
So when you get hurt, like my suggestion to you guys always is, let's just take the time that we know we should have been spending on the mental and spiritual aspects of this position and the game. And because we can't do shit physically, let's take what that output would be and let's put it into the mental and spiritual side.
100%.
And I think that naturally just pivots you into being able to stay in a mentality of I'm growing, I'm getting better, and all of those things. So, I mean, I think that that's a very, very important perspective that honestly should probably have its own episode.
Yeah, no doubt.
Just in terms of guys, because there's guys facing it all over the country, and some of these guys listening are facing it. And some of these guys that are listening right now had it happen multiple times in their career, and they're like, fuck, I probably should have done that, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, Mitch, do you have anything else with Tyler Van Dyke? Anything else as we conclude kind of this segment?
No, I just obviously we're praying for him. Hope he gets through it.
Totally.
And yeah, find some mental clarity and some mental peace. I think, the hard thing right now is if he does have to make a lot of decisions fast, he's not in the best emotional state to make a decision.
Yeah.
His head is probably spinning. He's definitely feeling upset, So I just hope that he finds some time to kind of get that mental clarity to make any decisions he has to make. But hey, it's all part of the journey. Pressure is a privilege, and we wouldn't do this if it was easy.
I mean, this guy's a quote machine. All right. We'll see you next episode.